Hello everyone, my name is Ethan Duff, and this is an introduction and how to play video for my game, Vault Zero. The Eminence, an authoritarian cyberpunk government, has ruled with an iron fist for all of human history. Or so say all of the Eminence-approved history books. A meeting has been called amongst the rebel leaders, and it is decided. Now is the time to strike, and the target is none other than the Eminence's greatest stronghold, the place they keep their most heinous secrets, Vault Zero. Players take on the role of rebel leaders intent on building a machine capable of hacking into Vault Zero, exposing the Eminence's secrets, inciting the people to rebellion. The Vault must fall. Vault Zero is a deck-building, tableau-building, and action programming game for 1 to 5 players. Players are each allowed to play one card on their turn, either to build their board or strengthen their deck. And as the boards get bigger, players' one card will begin triggering more effects. Vault Zero is all about cascading effect triggers, wide variety in strategy, and optimizing your tableau for both card gain and card draw. To start, locate the library board and place it somewhere accessible by all players. Then you're going to want to locate the large, imposing Vault Zero figurine and place it at the head of the board. Find the 50 secret cards and shuffle them into a deck and place that deck inside of the deck cavity of the Vault Zero figurine. Note, only shuffle these cards if this is your first time playing. You want to be drawing new secrets each game to learn more about what the Eminence has been up to. Locate all the bug cards, place them into a deck, and set that deck on the left side of the board here, and then do the same with every key card on the right side. Locate the 5 pause tokens and place them here directly in front of the vault. And then you're going to want to assemble the rest of the cards into a library deck. Note, cards in Vault Zero usually look like this, but starter cards are also going to have a star symbol in the upper left-hand corner. Assemble all cards that do not have this star symbol, green, blue, and red, into a library deck and then shuffle it. Then you're going to want to draw one card from the deck into each of the 5 library slots directly to the right, like this. Then, choose a starting player, and in reverse turn order, each player is going to choose one rebel leader. Rebel leaders each are going to have a special ability that will assist you throughout the game, and they each have a difficulty in the upper right-hand corner. We're going to choose Domhnall here because he's easy. Lastly, give every person a player board that looks something like this, and a deck of these 10 starting cards. 2 keys, 4 bugs, a blue hack card, a blue call card, and 2 green run cards. Notice, like we were mentioning before, each of these cards has a star symbol in the upper left-hand corner. Keys and bugs are generic cards, so they do not. Take the deck, shuffle it up, and place it on the Your Deck spot of the player board. Each player then draws a starting hand of 5 cards. Lastly, each player is going to take the same amount of Outrage tokens and place them on the Secrets Remaining section of your board. These Outrage tokens are going to be equivalent to points, and as you flip them, you get closer to winning the game until you flip your very last one and you've won the game. A standard amount of Outrage tokens for a game of Vault Zero is 5, but for your very first game, we recommend starting with 2. On to how to play. Players will each have their own personal deck of cards and discard pile. Anytime they would draw a card, they always draw it from their own personal deck, and anytime they discard a card, they place it into their personal discard pile. Whenever a player tries to draw from an empty deck, they shuffle their discard pile and it becomes their new deck. They then draw from that. Players will be gaining a lot of cards from the library board over the course of a game, and newly gained cards always go directly into your discard pile. This is a key card. It represents your progress into hacking through Vault Zero's defenses, and you generally want as many of them as possible. Most effects in Vault Zero revolve around gaining keys or drawing them into your hand, because if at any point on your turn you have at least 5 key cards in your hand, you immediately return them to the key deck on the library board and steal a secret out of Vault Zero. Secrets you steal are placed in your discard pile, and every time you steal a secret, you expose it to the public, inciting outrage, represented here by flipping an outrage token from its lock side to its fist side. Once you flip your final token, the people are stirred into rebellion and you've won the game. However, players still finish out the current round of turns, and if multiple players flipped their last outrage token during the round, then all players gain an additional outrage token, lock side up. This means there are no ties in Vault Zero. On your turn, you'll be playing only one card from your hand, and in Vault Zero there are 3 types of cards that you can play. The first are these pink bug cards. They are generally useless, and you'll usually want to get rid of them as fast as possible. When you play a bug, it is destroyed, and whenever a bug is destroyed, it goes back to the bug deck on the library board. The remaining 3 types of cards, green, blue, and red cards, each have an associated area on your board, called your algorithms, stack, and rig. Only cards with the same color can be held in each area. Green cards are called functions. Functions are action cards, and when you play them, you trigger their effect. This search card, for instance, says to draw 2 cards, so upon playing it, I draw 2 cards from my deck. Alternatively, anytime you could play a function, you can instead choose to stack it. When you stack a function, you forgo triggering its ability and instead place it on the stack area of your player board. As you continue to stack functions, you will keep putting them on top of the previously stacked functions. When stacking functions, you may overlay them north to south so you can see all of their card names, or south to north so you can see all of their abilities, whichever is most comfortable for you. The stack has no limit on how many functions it can hold, and whenever an effect tells you to call the stack, you may play any number of functions in it, including 0, from top to bottom, meaning the most recent function to enter will be the first that you play, and vice versa. Played functions, meaning functions played normally or functions played by calling the stack, stay on the table during the turn. At the end of your turn, all played functions will go into your discard pile. Next up are the blue code cards. Code cards act as the bedrock of your board. When you play a code card, you do not trigger its effect. Instead, you choose one of your 2 algorithms and place the code in the leftmost empty slot. Whenever an effect tells you to run an algorithm, you may choose one of your algorithms and trigger every code slot in it from left to right. Code cards that are triggered this way do not get discarded, and barring some special card effects, a code card will generally stay where it was played for the entirety of the game, allowing you to build large chains of effects all triggering together. When running an algorithm, you may skip any code slots you wish. Lastly are the red hardware cards. Hardware cards have weaker effects than most functions or code, but can be triggered more frequently. Hardware cards are not playable and will never enter your hand, deck, or discard pile during a game. Whenever you gain a hardware card, instead of placing it in your discard pile, you place it directly into a hardware slot in your rig. Your machine grows. At the start of your turn, you may choose one of your hardware to trigger. Like I mentioned with code, triggering a card does not discard it or move it anywhere, meaning you can trigger that hardware's effect turn after turn after turn. Your rig only has 3 hardware slots available though, but at any point in your turn, you're allowed to destroy one of your own hardware to make room for a new one. However, since shoving random cyberware into your machine never works perfectly, each time you gain a hardware, something breaks, meaning you also gain a bug, which goes into your discard pile like normal. Each rig slot has a little bug icon on it to remind players of this added cost. Your turn consists of 4 steps. Step 1, you may trigger a hardware in your rig. Step 2, you may play a card from your hand. This can be playing a bug to destroy it, called debugging, playing or stacking a function, or playing a code into one of your algorithms. Step 3, you may gain one of the 5 cards in the library. Cards in the library are always either functions, code, or hardware, and after you gain 1 or more cards from the library, immediately refill any empty slots with cards from the library deck. No card in the game of Vault Zero has a cost. Step 4, discard all played functions and all cards in your hand, then draw 5 new cards. If your new hand is 5 keys, you must wait until your next turn before turning them in to steal a secret. Note that the first 3 steps are all optional. You are not required to trigger a hardware or play a card or gain a library card if it doesn't benefit you. These tokens here in the middle of the library board are called pause tokens. Pause tokens are not a game mechanic, but an optional tool available to players to help mark when certain effects are paused while the effect chain they trigger resolves. Vault Zero is a game of cascading effects. You can trigger a hardware that runs an algorithm that triggers a code that calls the stack that runs the same algorithm that triggers a code that triggers a different hardware that triggers a library function, etc. Players can use pause tokens at their discretion to mark where an algorithm or called stack was paused to start some other effect chain. Watch the example turn at the end of this video to see pause tokens in action. You're ready to play Vault Zero right now, but if you want, take a second to look at your starting deck. You have some bugs, some keys, and the 3 cards needed to perform the 3 basic actions of the game: gaining keys, running algorithms, and calling the stack. Note that while gaining keys is a very common ability, calling the stack is exceedingly rare. In this deck of almost 180 library cards, there are only 3 that call the stack. Running an algorithm is totally unique to your starting deck. Many cards in the library can run algorithms, but always with some restriction or added cost. In Vault Zero, your turns typically follow a pattern. You'll take a few turns at the beginning of the game setting up your board and building out your deck, and then a big push turn in which you try to acquire enough keys into your hand in order to steal a secret. And that is the type of turn I will be demonstrating for you right now. So we are a few turns into the game, and this is what our board state looks like. We have stolen no secrets, we have 3 keys in our hand, which is a pretty good amount, and we have 2 functions. We've got a search, which draws us 2 cards, and a run, which runs an algorithm. On our stack, we have copies of the same 2 functions, actually, a run on top and a search on bottom. Our top algorithm has 3 code, a hack, which gains us a key. We've got call, which calls our stack, and another hack, which gains us another key. You'll notice this hack is missing the little star in the upper left-hand corner, which means that this one was gained from the library and was not a starting card. We've got a couple hardware and a deck of, looks like 7 cards. Okay, so for this turn, let's go ahead and start. Number 1, we can trigger one of our hardware. First hardware that we can choose from is Virulence. It can gain us a key, but we cannot gain any more keys this turn if we choose it. That is nice whenever you're taking turns setting up your board, because you're not really gaining a lot of keys once you're building everything out, but we have a run in our hand, and that run is going to be gaining us keys once we use it, so I'm probably going to skip this since the detriment is pretty high. Nanocortex is the other option then. It allows us to stack a function in our hand, and that's a much better option because we're only going to be able to play 1 card, which means being able to stack the other one and prevent it from just getting discarded is pretty nice. So we will trigger Nanocortex. We are going to stack Search right here, and we move on. Step 2, I can play a card by doing one of the following. I can play a bug to destroy it, but I have no bugs in my hand. I can play a code into an algorithm, but I've got no code in my hand. So I will be playing a function. I'm going to choose to play Run. Run says run an algorithm, and obviously I'm going to choose my top one. So Hack is first up, and it gains me a key, which goes into my discard pile. Next up is Call, which allows me to call my stack. Calling my stack is going to trigger a lot of extra effects, and this algorithm is going to be essentially paused while all of those happen. So I'm going to go ahead and steal a pause token from the library board and mark the call card with it. So I know once everything is done and I'm done calling the stack, this is where I pick back up and continue on. Remember, pause tokens are tools. They are not mechanics. So you can set them wherever you want to, wherever is just helpful for you to know, hey, this is where I pick back up once the effect that I'm triggering is done. So for this case, maybe I'll just put it right here to say, hey, once I'm calling the stack is done, I pick up here and move forward. So I will begin calling the stack. And first things first, this search is on top. So I'll pull it off, and I draw 2 cards, which are always drawn from my personal deck. I draw these 2 cards, and look at that. I've got 5 keys in my hand. That's fantastic. Anytime you have 5 keys in your hand, everything goes on pause, and you put these in the key deck on the library board, and you steal a secret out of the vault. Fantastic. Secrets you steal go directly into your discard pile, and because you've exposed them for what they were doing, this is the text if you want to read it, the public is outraged, and we flip a token. So we are now 20% of the way to victory. We're still calling the stack, so I'm going to go ahead and call the next function as well, which is a run. It allows us to run an algorithm. So we have one here, and we're going to start. By running an algorithm, we're putting our stack call on pause. So I'm going to take another pause token and mark the stack with it to say, hey, once I'm done with this run, here's where I pick back up, just like the one we're using over here as well. So this run is going to run our top algorithm. The first code is hack, gains us a key. The next code is call, so we can call our stack again if we want to. But because our hand is empty, the 2 cards we draw won't really be helpful for us, so I'm going to choose to skip this code slot and keep going. The last code is hack, which gains me a key. So that's awesome. This run is now finished, which means we are now continuing on with our stack call. I'm going to take this and put it back. And we're in the same dilemma. I don't really want to play this search because I won't be able to do anything with the cards it gives me, so I'm going to leave it here for a future turn. So I am done calling the stack, and we go back to our algorithm. The pause token gets returned to the board, and this algorithm continues on. The only code left is another hack, so we gain 1 last key, and that is it for step 2. Step 3, I can gain a card from the library. Looks like there's a lot of options here. if I gained a code or a function, it would go directly into my discard pile, like so. But I'm going to go ahead and gain this hardware here, Echo Coil, which allows me to place up to 2 cards in my hand back on top of my deck. So I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to place it right here. And anytime I gain a hardware, I always also gain a bug, because something breaks when you just shove random machinery into your machinery. Except in this case, we are playing Domnall. He has a special ability which says you do not gain a bug when gaining hardware, so I'm going to get rid of that. This spot on the library board gets refilled, and we are done with step 3, which means only one step left, and that is cleanup. We discard any played functions and all cards in our hand, and then we draw 5 cards. So I've got 3 played functions right here. We'll go ahead and discard those. And my hand is empty, so nothing to discard, and I draw 5 more cards. Fantastic. Those are all keys, which means I'll be stealing another secret. However, because it is the end of my turn, I cannot turn these in for secret until the start of my next turn. And that is it. You are ready to play Vault Zero.